There are people, I think, who have nothing to teach, and some people may think that's interesting enough to learn, but then they already know what they're going to get, and they don't have to learn anything other than what they already know. And so therefore, I'm not going to be too successful being a teacher, but at least I'm the kind of a teacher that I am. Now, that sounds rather paradoxical, but that's what I am. So, what do I do with it now when I look at all this stuff and look into the future? That's what I think is going to happen. I think our society is going to bring together a multimedia, virtual reality allegory of the cave and the upper world of Plato's. I think that's what our culture is going to do. They're going to design the allegory of the cave. Now, the allegory of the cave, as you all know, let me quickly give you what I think it's going to be. The prisoners are here since childhood, not birth, childhood. Chained, so all they can do is see the wall on which the shadows are cast. Behind them, on a wall, raised parapet, right, are men who are walking with objects on their head. They can't therefore be seen. Behind them is a fire. And that fire therefore casts light upon these images, and the reflections therefore become the shadows on the wall of the cave. Now, two things are important here. One is their necks are chained in such a way they can't turn around to see one another, and therefore they never know the nature of one another or the nature of man. All they do is look forward, and therefore that light also casts images of themselves on the wall. So there are two things here. One is these objects on their heads, and the next is the shadows of themselves on the wall of the cave, which they take therefore to be reality. Now, in the Republic, Socrates goes to great length to point out that man's basic problem are the beliefs that he has been taught as a child about the nature of reality, about the nature of themselves, and about the nature of society. Three beliefs: self, reality, right, and the world about them. Now, in this multimedia dimension, therefore, I think what's going to happen is that people will be able to, in a short while, be able to, with diagnostic tools, be able to identify the fundamental beliefs that people have that block them in their own psychic development. I think there are tools that are going to be available. I think a good number of them exist already. And therefore, there's going to be a multimedia presentation where people are going to be first screened, tested, and therefore they're going to experience the cave, the underworld cave, and they are therefore going to be, as it were, in a prison, being able therefore to stand up, turn around, just as in the allegory of the cave, forced to see these beliefs, which are the very sources of their imprisonment, and therefore this whole thing, therefore, they're going to be taken as if it were real, virtual reality. I suspect what will put them in a very open and suggestible plane might be some kind of psychotropic drug, LSD, or some variation of that. That's going to make them live and see the whole psychic drama, because the next part of the drama is man then must be see the nature of the condition of his own ignorance, and then work his way up the steep ascent and see the upper world. Therefore, we're going to get people who are so skilled in multimedia and virtual reality that are going to be able to present in some form what comes close to a whole range of mystical experiences, and they're going to then bring people into it such that they're going to get a taste of it. Not the reality, they're going to get a taste of it. They'll see that it's a doorway. It's a doorway. And all they're going to be doing is passing through a doorway. It's not the home, it's not their house, but they're going to recognize that there is a door. And that drugs, therefore, for our culture, is going to let people know that that door exists and a house behind it is theirs. Therefore, I think what's going to happen is going to be then, as people begin to see the possibility of this kind of experience and this kind of use of the mind for the higher purposes, that it's going to open up, therefore, the real possibility of a whole new age of enlightenment. Under one possibility, that's all mankind needs. One has to see it's possible. One has to see that in one of the ways that we mentioned before, 1, 2, 3, or 4, and if lucky, 5, that man therefore can grow psychically and spiritually and come to grips with the very nature of their mind. Now, I think this is where we're going. I don't think there's any way to avoid it. I don't know whether, I think from my own experience, for some people, if the set is right, if the setting is right, if they have people who are competent to help people with all kinds of difficulties that they might experience through these experiences, if they can be comforting, if they can help them through this, the most highly trained people, I think, might be assigned to help people go through this. If those things are together, then I think what we're going to have is something like the Greek mysteries, because that was the role of the Greek mysteries. The Orphic mysteries and the Eleusinian mysteries served that purpose. I think we're going to do the same thing through the electronic age in this way. Now, notice I'm not talking about the social implications of drugs. I'm not talking about its legality. I'm not talking about anything like that. I'm only interested in this in respect to its philosophical purposes, to identify the fact that there is a door, and the door is pretty close, and for some people they needed to know that. Now, I'd like to give you a last observation in my own life. When I was into this game from 1948 up until 55, and especially 53, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5. I was at the American Academy of Asian Studies, and we had a Tibetan Lama there that I studied with, Lama Tata. We had a class that only had 4 students. 1 dropped. We only had 3 students. It was a full Tibetan Lama, tremendously skilled, insightful, philosophically trained. I worked with Jiming Shen, a native Taoist. We only had 4 people in that class. Haridas Chaudhry was there then teaching, and he only had 6 or 7 students. That is to say, in the whole San Francisco region during this time, Eastern thought along the lines that I've been describing was totally, for the most part, unknown. Then 2 things happened within a short period of time, what I call the miracle of the 2 pills. The birth control pill came at the same time as LSD. Within a very short time, that changed the whole culture. Then within a short while, you could give a talk in San Francisco, you could fill the rooms. That's what changed it. And also, the whole idea of men expressing and searching in themselves for some way of loving without pregnancy broke through, and that changed mankind. So I think those 2 things are the most significant things that took place. And I think this is going to be the third. This is going to be the third. The highest art, the most talented people, the people who could come together to help one another go through experiences like that, to try to therefore take them from this into more formal ways of studying it, such as Buddhism, Hinduism, etc., or Platonic thought, or Pseudo-Dionysius, whatever system they're in. What should it do? It should awaken it. That's its purpose. Show that it's possible. Make it open to man. And many of the people I've known